I will say is it was easy to play because Owain is like the best listener on set. No matter how many times you are shooting a scene, it's unbelievable what he gives. I will say that scene was absolutely phenomenal to play with you because Owain gives absolutely everything and he doesn't need to say a word.
Hello, how are we today?
Really good, Tatiana. How are you?
I'm doing great. I have to say, I think Khazad-dûm was probably my favorite location in the first season, especially. I said all of them. No, but no, your relationship was so adorable. I really loved getting a little peek behind the marriage. And I was wondering, Sophia, did you two or with between each other or with the creative team discuss like headcanons or backstory that wasn't included in the series when it comes to Disa's upbringing and marriage to Durin?
Yeah, we did. We had those conversations actually. We kind of I think we almost started with the backstory of we kind of talked around that, and out of that kind of evolved into the relationship that we see. Where did she come from? What does she see? What has she experienced? You know, that gorgeous story that Disa tells at the beginning of how they met, and actually that Durin was quite coy. And you know, what does that say for their personality? And I guess from that point, that backstory almost informed how this relationship would kind of grow and how it would bond. So we did a ton of that conversation, and actually sometimes we would miss bits, and then we would get to a point in the text and realize, oh my goodness, we need to talk about this backstory. So why would she have thought that? Why would she have reacted like that? Why would he have reacted like that? Why are they responding to that in that way? What's happened previously in their lives that we've not seen and we don't know about? And I think what was really exciting for Disa particularly is because there's nothing on her. There's, you know, she's a new character. Mm-hmm. But of course, there is so much on the dwarves. I feel like I had the best in both worlds because I was able to lean on the culture of what we know of the dwarves, but equally I was able to kind of build something. We were able to build something from the ground up. Such an iconic moment. So yeah, there was a ton of conversation, which I always hope is kind of is apparent in the performance and in the relationship, that we kind of there is something, there is history.
I love that. I'm definitely that would be me. I'd be like, okay, let's talk about what this one line means. Why did you look at me like that? Why did you look at me like that? Let's go. Anyway, so Owain, you have kind of like the opposite situation where Durin is such a big part of the lore, and your friendship with Elrond, which is also at the heart of the first season. Elrond is such a big character. So how do you kind of do justice to Dwarven history with your role and play off of Robert with Elrond?
The fact that there is a lot written about dwarves is very useful, and you can use it if you want to or not, you know. Mm-hmm. So with my approach to Durin, there's actually not a lot on Durin, the fourth in the Legendarium. So that I was able to pull from other characters and other scenarios and other dwarven traits that can back me up, you know, and you kind of, all you can do really is try and absorb as much information as you can up to the point that Durin is, so you can live that moment in that moment and therefore go forward with that and collect new experiences as you go along. So it's very useful, to play, very useful to kind of back things up and to get inspiration from as well, but also quite freeing because there isn't a lot about Durin, but also there's so much about Elrond, and Elrond knows everything. So Rob was very useful on set actually to have, because if I had a question about the Legendarium, then I just go to Rob the Wikipedia right next to me, and he'd inform me. But what was great is that Rob and I were able to work together to kind of inform Elrond as well. So it was good to contribute towards Elrond and his experiences and his knowledge, and having him there was and why they were friends, what actually brought them together, was quite informative as well, because Elrond is clearly different to many of the elves, and therefore Durin must be different to the other dwarves. And and therefore finding that little special thing which brought both of us together even closer was very useful. So Elrond was useful for Durin.
Sophia, I'm sure you've been asked endlessly about moving mountains, because that was such an iconic moment for your character. So aside from that, which you did beautifully, what is one one of the Disa moments that you're proudest of, that you felt most fulfilled having?
Aside from that moment.
Yes. I mean, you could talk more about the moment if you want.
No. You've heard enough of me talking about that. I think one of her proudest moments in season 1, which we'll see in season 2, is actually Ep 7, which is that last bit, that last scene between Durin and I, because what you see is the other side to her. I think you see another angle of Disa, and you see all of the joy and all of the kind of support throughout the season, and then right at the end you just get to see the glint of the possibility of where she might go in terms of ambition and her true leadership and warrior-like strength, which I think was so important to me and is so important to me for Disa, because what we do know about the dwarves is, male, female, color, creed, anything in between, they have the same warrior-like strength throughout all of them. That runs throughout all of them. And so I think for the first time to see her in that way, immovable, was a really exciting thing to play. And what I will say is it was easy to play because Owain is like the best listener on set. No matter how many times you are shooting a scene, it's unbelievable what he gives. I will say that scene was absolutely phenomenal to play with you, because Owain gives absolutely everything and he doesn't need to say a word. And so it was really special because we ended that together as a unit that we'd created from the beginning.
Nice thing to say, look.
Yeah, no.
That is so sweet. Speaking of, leadership, being a warrior, we get kind of two different approaches to it with you and your father. Can you talk about the growth of that relationship and your different viewpoints for the dwarves in season 1, moving into season 2?
I mean, like I said earlier about Elrond and Durin, they think slightly outside of the box, and a dwarven box is very tightly shut. I think that's true to say, and playing with Peter. I mean, Peter is a heavyweight in a heavyweight actor. He's just absolutely brilliant, but also is very, very generous. And as I think Durin the Third is a very generous man, but also very traditional and very, very, very caring of Khazad-dûm and of the dwarves. So he's a wonderful, strong father and a father figure, therefore. But he's also my king, So there's a duty there as well that was something I was trying to get a handle on whilst working with him. And what was difficult for Durin in those scenarios was to go against his father, to go against his education, his headmaster, his king. So having a slight breakdown in that was really interesting to play, actually, and really exciting for me as an actor to see what makes a dwarf go against his father's love and command, and therefore the more I loved him, the harder it was to go against him, and therefore you raise the stakes and the obstacles get bigger, which makes the end of the season a bigger tragedy that their relationship is broken. And that I am no longer a prince of Khazad-dûm, which is completely different to where we saw them at the beginning of the season. So we kind of see the fall of Durin basically throughout the first season, and we pick it up from that point in the second. And we dive deeper into father, son, king, prince relationship, husband and wife relationship as well. That everything gets challenged in season 2.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to that. Thank you both so much. I just want to say, Sophia, I saw you in Wednesday and I could not believe that it was you. I had to wait. I had to go through the credits and be like, is that her? And it was. So that's very cool for me.
It's very cool. It's very cool for me. Who knew? Like a little fantasy crossover. I was like, Disa?
Exactly. Like, what's happening? All right. Well, thank you both so much. Cannot wait to speak to you for season 2, I hope.
All right. You better believe it. See you soon.
Bye.